Hi, and welcome to The Writing Engineer. Today I'm going to be discussing beta readers. What are they, where to get them, and why you should give a flying fart about them. Alright, I know, it's a little bit weird, but I really want everyone to enjoy this channel, so no swearing. Okay, first, what are beta readers? Beta readers are people that you give your story to before it's done. This is really scary. I did it once myself. The first person I gave my book to was my wife. And after waiting on tenterhooks for 10 minutes while she finished the first part of chapter 1, she told me that she had read worse. Needless to say, I was a little upset. But then I came to realize that she meant she had actually read worse in published books. Not bad feedback for the first time through. But here's the important thing. My wife is not my target audience. She doesn't really care about my story. She doesn't actually even like the story that much, which is perfectly fine. But you need to find people who do like the stories that you're telling to give them for beta feedback. This feedback is what's so important about beta readers. Second, where do you get beta readers? Well, I got my first couple of beta readers in a rather unusual way. The first one I got was a colleague's daughter who happened to like Doctor Who, which is one of the shows that I like. So I mentioned to her that I was writing a science fiction book, gave her the lowdown on it, and she asked if she could read it. I'm sure this doesn't happen to most people, but it might happen to you. I had another person who was a colleague's daughter's fiance also express interest in it. That was only 2. You really need more than 2. So where else would you go to get beta readers? Some people say Facebook. You can advertise on Facebook, but don't pay any money for that. It's not really worth it. You can ask in Twitter. There are a lot of people who like to read stuff on Twitter. But I found one of the better places to go is Goodreads. They have an entire discussion group for beta readers and authors looking for beta readers. It's really fantastic. I had some excellent feedback with some people that I hooked up with on Goodreads. They gave me very good information about what was wrong with my book, which can sometimes be tough to swallow, but it helps make a better story overall. Third, why you should give a flying fart about beta readers. Beta readers are kind of the spell checker for novels. They'll read your story through, and they're not professional editors. At least, they don't have to be. What they will do is they will tell you what they liked and what they didn't like about your story. This is extremely valuable information. It tells you the places in your story where it might be slowing down. They'll tell you any plot holes that you may have. They'll tell you if you have left any Chekhov's guns unfired. And for a description on Chekhov's gun, what it actually is if you put a gun on the mantelpiece in a murder mystery, it better go off. There's no other reason to mention that there is a gun on the mantelpiece unless you plan on having one of your characters fire it. You don't want to leave any hanging threads in your story. That's what beta readers are for. They'll read it through and point out to you, if you ask them nicely, what your story might be missing or what you may have forgotten to wrap up in your storyline. Now, there are a couple things that you need to take into account when you're looking for beta readers. First, ideally, they would have a lot of the same interests as you. If they have the same interests as you, probably they have the same sense of humor. They might understand the jokes that you're trying to make. And certainly, they'll like your writing style. You also want this person to really like books. Because if this person is kind of wishy-washy on books, they're not going to really want to read through a manuscript that might not be perfect. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But you really have to like someone to read through a manuscript which could be full of spelling errors, could be full of plot holes, could be full of weird turns of phrase that you're not used to, and give that person feedback on what the underlying problems or the things that you may have liked about the story. The last thing, and probably the most important, is that your beta readers should not be jerks. You don't want to expose yourself to a person who's going to just criticize your work just for the sheer, unadulterated heck of criticizing your work. Some people exist out there, and I'm sure you know a few of them, who make themselves feel better by making people feel worse. And that's not what you need. Now, what about the argument that I don't need beta readers? I've taken creative writing classes. My writing's pretty good. My teacher says my writing is excellent. And besides, maybe people won't get my story. Well, let's take that apart a little bit. If you're in school, would you really hand in a report to your teacher without running at least a spell checker on it first? Do you want to lose those extra points because you misspelled the word weird, which, by the way, I do all the time? You certainly wouldn't hand a report into your boss at work without at least having one of your colleagues go over it first. That's what beta readers are for. They're your first defense against writing that maybe could be a little bit better. Maybe things that you may have forgotten to tie up, little loose ends and such. But what they'll really give you is they'll give you an edge up if you're looking to be traditionally published. You certainly don't want to hand your first draft manuscript to an agent, the person who's going to try and represent you to editors and publishers. You want to at least make sure that someone else, hopefully lots of someone else's, have read through your manuscript at least once and given you some feedback so that what you pass to your agent or your prospective agent is at least decent. This can be very helpful, especially if you don't have a lot of money to dish out to editors. And if your manuscript is of any length at all, editors are going to cost you a few dollars to get done. I recently had someone quote me a price of $1,600 to edit one of my manuscripts. Now granted, it's a little bit on the long side at over 110,000 words, but still, that's not pocket change to anybody. So, beta readers, get them. You're going to need them. Well, that's about it for now. If you enjoyed today's video, please click the thumbs up below. If you want to know immediately when I put my next video up, click the little subscribe button. I could really use the help. Also, my first book, Amara's Law, is at a tipping point. I'm trying to run a Kickstarter right now, and I could really use the help. So if anyone's watching this, or you have some friends that you might want to tell about it, go to Kickstarter and search for Amara's Law. I could use the help. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.